Saturday Man Show. Bold flavor.
Hey, this is Brant coming at you. We have none other than Eldon Solomon with the Journey Home, an incredible organization that seeks and rescues and restores our men and women in uniform, especially during disasters. How are you, Eldon?
Doing well. I'm sitting in La Plaza, Louisiana, a week after Hurricane Ida. It is hot, it is humid, and there's a lot of destruction. A lot of people hurting.
Oh my gosh! So what's the status of some of the veterans that you've been able to work with?
Well, we're just meeting them. So at noon, I walked the distribution line, the food line, and found about 15 veterans. Got their name and the number, the location. They're happy. They're overwhelmed. They're discouraged. They're just a little bit nervous and scared. But over the next couple of days, I will then swing back and talk with them. But we've only been boots on the ground in La Plaza for about 36 hours. We rolled in yesterday morning, and today was the first time I've really had a chance to meet the veterans. Though I did visit with a veteran yesterday in his home, and as I drove down the streets, there was just piles and piles of debris that had been mucked out. The visual of that is just undescribable, and I was able to take some pictures of that, and I'll send it your way. But I walked into this veteran's home, a Vietnam veteran, and the water line in his house was over 3.5 feet high, and everything was just destroyed. He told me that for the first 3 or 4 days, every day he would walk about 2 miles in the water about waist high just to get something to eat, and did that for about 3 or 4 days. So the stories are going to be incredible. The stories are incredible, and I'm anxious to go and find those veterans and let them know that we're there.
Well, God bless you for what you're doing, Eldon. Now, what was the first inspiration for you to begin the journey home?
The journey home was started about 7 years ago by the community of Randolph County, Indiana. Randolph County is the county seat is Winchester, Indiana, a population of about 4,000. The whole county is no bigger than 21,000. And we're east central Indiana. And a handful of individuals sat down and said, we have to do something for our veterans. And those small group of people turned into a larger community effort. And in a year, they opened up a transitional facility to house veterans in need, homeless, and that's how it started. And we have, I've been the CEO for almost 5 years, and was on the board of directors for 1.5 years prior to that time. So I've been involved for about 6 of the 7 years that we've been in existence. But it started by just community effort, saying we can do something for our veterans. The VA's doing a lot. The federal government's doing a lot. But as a community, we can do something that makes a difference. And that's the inspiration of the journey home.
Well, bless you for that. You know, when you and I first started talking about the journey home, and I made a comment, I said, when I love our boys, we got to support our boys. And you made a very, very good point about that it's just not our boys, it's also our women too. Would you like to touch on that point?
I would love to. And I would love to talk more if I knew a whole lot more. Female veterans are a little bit hidden. You know, they don't come out, and they don't recognize themselves as veterans. And I don't know why. I've talked to a few veterans, female veterans, and they just don't really feel like they need to get up and wear the hats or make themselves known. But a lot of female veterans that I've talked to said that when they do make themselves known, it's not a female veteran isn't what people generally think of when they say a veteran. I've heard stories of females veterans that will park at a parking spot at a store designated just for veterans and get yelled at for parking there because their husbands served, not them. And they just don't want to deal with the hassle. And I don't think we as a culture traditionally view females as quote, quote, veterans. And they tend to take care of themselves. I've been in concerts where they've recognized veterans sitting next to a female veteran, and she wouldn't stand up when they asked for all veterans to stand up. She wouldn't do it. it's just one of those things that I think it's more of a hassle to explain for them than it is to be recognized. And my heart goes out to them because they served valiantly. They served with passion. They served with honor. The same reasons that our brothers did. But I really want to find a way as an organization, as a message to say, my sisters in arms, thank you very much for your service. If you need some help, please call me, because I want to recognize you and honor you for the service that you provide our country.
Well, you know what? I appreciate the service you're providing our veterans. And behind you is a very nice looking first responder of sorts vehicle there, your mobile veteran outreach. Tell us how you do what you do, Eldon.
You know, what we do is we want to end veteran homelessness. And that's an easy phrase to say, but it's not an easy challenge to tackle. There are 37,000 veterans that are homeless, and that's unthinkable. And we also have heard over and over again that 22 veterans commit suicide in this country every day. And over the last 6 or 7 years, to be honest with you, those numbers really haven't gone down statistically. Maybe 1 or 2%, but not really enough excited about. But what we don't talk about a lot is that there are 1,400,000 veterans we estimate in this country today that are at risk of becoming homeless. So when we think about as an organization, our board of directors, we want to tackle the whole issues, make veterans our priority in veteran homelessness. We're very blessed in Winchester to have a 15-bed facility that the VA contracts to take veterans off the streets from all over the country into our facility. But there are still veterans out there that are at risk. And if we don't do something to address that 1,400,000, that number of 37,000 will go up. And so what we started to do locally is take the same practice in our facilities. That we're a rural community, right? We are a small community, and our community loves our veterans. So we've been very successful at connecting our veterans to their community, and our community to our veterans. And we found that when we do that, that is probably the key predictor of whether we know a veteran will stay off the streets that come through our programming. Meaning this: those veterans that have come into our facility multiple times are those veterans that lost the connection they established to their community prior to getting housed. Those veterans that we have placed in our community or into their community who have maintained that social interaction, that connection with their community, have stayed housed. So we kind of fell upon something really kind of cool. Access to care is important, but what's really important is that a veteran needs to feel loved. A veteran needs to feel connected and belong to somebody, something, some purpose, and some sense of community. So we took that concept and we've gone into our local area, and we have case managers that go out and find veterans that are at risk locally and regionally. And about 2 years ago, we were thinking about how to expand that to a national level, because that number of 1.4 million 4 million veterans just haunts us. And we thought, during a disaster, veterans are at the greatest risk of becoming homeless. So how can we take the concept of connecting veterans to their community and their community to their veterans on the road? And responding to hurricanes and natural disasters just seemed like a good fit. And so we're down here in La Paz. Not only are we looking for veterans, we're looking for organizations that support veterans. We want to help you. So we're right here in a church parking lot. We are feeding them all kinds of food and supplies and resources because we know the churches in this area are going to take care of our veterans. We'll find VFWs, American Legions, and others that we can lift up and build up, and then we want to connect them to their veterans and back and forth, and so that we can make the local community the hero, and let our veterans know that not only does the Journey Home love them, but so does their local community in the country. They do appreciate our veterans.
So crucial, such an incredible organization. Now, Eldon, what is the best way that people who see this interview can get behind what you're doing?
Oh, there's so much you can do to help us. Let me talk about the immediate needs. If you're a church, if you're a business that wants to provide supplies to this area, those supplies are needed so desperately. This afternoon for lunch, we fed over 500 people in about an hour time, and we turned that many away. And it's heartbreaking to look at individuals when we say we're out of food, drive away because they don't know where their meal is going to come from. And we just didn't have enough resources, enough manpower, enough ability to really kind of help them. And I understand that the needs here are greater than what we can meet. So if you have a food truck or you have a church that can provide supplies, give me a call and I'll be glad to coordinate with you to get the supplies here. We're sitting in a parking lot with a coalition of other disaster relief organizations: Bell's Environmental, Carpenter House Global, Brownsville Church out of Pensacola, Radiant Lighthouse Church out of Ohio. And we're all working together here to build up this church and build up this community. If you want to be a part of that, give me a call and we will be glad to connect you to the people. It's really about taking people and connecting them to people. Right. And so we can do that. To help our veterans, my goodness, we need some help. This is going to take dollars. Dollars that we can't get through grants. This is going to take dollars that's going to have to come from you. You can go to the Journey Home webpage, www.journeyhomevets.org. Find our disaster relief team response tab. Click on that, donate. We also have a Give Butter campaign, givebutter.com campaign that you can go to and donate to our disaster relief campaign going on right now. You can go to our Facebook page and learn how to get to those links. But most importantly, you can give me a call. All right, I'll give you my cell phone number, 765-546-1085. Call me. Please call me, and I will do all I can to connect you to those veterans that are most in need.
You know, it sounds like your presence there, being a connector and a coordinator and a rescuer, is cutting through a lot of the chaos that typically happens at a disaster site. And I'm sure you're a welcome presence there.
That's our goal. You know, as I talk about that coalition with those Bell's Environmental and others, our goal is to try to work together so we can break through that chaos quickly. And when I say quickly, I rolled into town, Brant, on Saturday afternoon, right, and we just landed in our landing zone yesterday morning. So in some ways, it doesn't feel quick, right? It feels chaotic. But I can tell you that it sometimes goes at a slow pace. And now that we're here, we can pick up speed and we can move forward. And if we have those resources coming in, we can move faster.
Well, you know what, Eldon, I'm so excited to hear about the Journey Home and about the coalition. You know, it's surprising, or maybe it's not surprising to you, but so many people do not know what all goes into disaster relief. They assume it's always the FEMA, or it's always the federal government, or they don't realize the coordination and the partnerships the good American folk do when they come together, and they do their best to execute a good recovery, but oftentimes they don't have the coordination that organizations like you, the Journey Home, provides, or the coalition that you're with. As far as the coalition goes, you know, in certain discussions before we got to do today's interview, you know, there are people who might want to volunteer their services to the actual site. Is that an option?
Yes, it is. So we're not ready for that yet. So just to kind of talk about those logistics, it's been a week out, but it's still raining here, so there's still flooding going on along through here. The power's not up. There's a boil water order in place. So there's really no place to house volunteers if they come in mass. And that's okay. That's kind of where we're at in this phase of the relief process. And that's been why it's been slowed us down, is that just trying to get in here, the roads get cleared, enough infrastructure to be back in place where we can get generators in here and get things picked up. So there will be a time when the Journey Home and the coalition will reach out and say, okay, our needs now are volunteers. So what's really great about this coalition, we have an organization like Bell's Environmental, who is a for-profit disaster relief organization, coming in and working with this church, and they're cleaning up the building, and they're immediately starting to take the cultural hall and get some power to it and get the showers working and get the bathrooms working so that we can then begin to house volunteers. That's the first goal. And without this organization doing that, the Journey Home couldn't do what we're doing. So that's really what's cool about the coalition partnership, is that we individually do what we do best, so that you can do what you do best. And so I would say within the next 3 or 4 days, we should be able to get a safe, sanitary place for us to house volunteers, but not today. I'm living in an RV camper, and I have one staff with me, and he's living in a tent. Bless his heart, it's hot. So that's coming, but the needs are the infrastructure doesn't support that need yet, but it will soon.
Well, services like yours do amazing things. And the coalition that you're with, you mentioned Bell's Environmental. Of course, some of the files that were sent to me, video and pictures, they're actually helping preserve historical churches from imploding with equipment and braces, and at the same time feeding people, even conducting services or helping them conduct services for people that are weathering out the storm. Just an amazing group of people, not for profit and for profit. And like you say, the coalition coming together, again, you just can't beat it. It talk about the American spirit. That's what you're exemplifying, my friend. And the fact that you're helping our boys and our girls, our men and our women in uniform, our nation's finest, you're helping to rescue them and restore them. I'm looking forward to more interviews, Eldon, because there's not a lot of awareness about these disasters and what it takes, not only to endure them, but to restore people and communities. But there's also not a lot of awareness about our great veterans and organizations like yours that help them, literally boots on the ground, helping them and helping. Talk about a search and rescue. They do so much for us. This is the least we can do for them. And that's getting behind people like you. And so I'm just really excited, Eldon. I want to see more as this endeavor progresses. But I tell you, brother, I'm honored to have you on the show, and we want to keep up with you, Eldon.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. And let me just kind of preach to the choir a little bit here too, because one of the things I say very often when I'm asked what's our motivation, well, it's just a very simple thing. Our veterans served us, and it's now time for us to serve our veterans.
Yes.
And there's some things, my father-in-law is a Vietnam veteran. My father's a Korean War veteran. I have 2 sons in the Air Force. And as I've talked to other Vietnam veterans, one thing that really struck me as important, when the veterans came home from Vietnam, they didn't feel rejected by their government. They felt rejected by their community.
Wow.
And that rejection, it's time to end that. It's time to say thank you for your service. No matter when you served, you didn't have to. You volunteered, and we appreciate that. And we want to serve you and search and find you and those kind of things. So yeah, it's a passionate thing for me, but I think it's also a passionate thing for a lot of people in this country. They don't know how to help, and we're telling you, the coalition, the Journey Home, we're here to help you help. Just come, give us a call, get on our website, message us, text me, call me, and our coalition is not a closed coalition. we'll take any partner that's willing to fit our mission and serve with honor and serve with passion. And